with these reports that their group is always towards the top. I don't care what study it is, you know, that their group is never at the bottom. When they do those studies, their group is always at the top. And so what he says is that there's a bell curve of IQ, intelligent quotient, around the planet. And he says that certain groups innately have higher IQs than others, and therefore we should not expect certain things from different groups and so forth and so on. And so he tries to use this to justify his racism and narcissism, right? And so, you know, one of the questions I ask is, IQ for what? Right? IQ for what? So when I started thinking about, you know, IQ, this is some of the stuff that came up for me, was that there is you, and this is your personality, right? So it's you and your personality, your quirks, whether you're blue or orange or yellow or red, your personality stuff. And then there's the physical part of you, which is your DNA. So your parents came together, they mixed their DNA, and voila, there you are, right? And then you are then influenced by your community, so that the environment in which you grow up in, right? If you grew up in a rural environment or an urban environment, that has a lot to do with shaping and molding who you are. And then your educational level, again, related to your community, whether your parents believed in formal education or informal education, whether you're part of 4-H or you were part of the honor society, that has a lot to do with how we develop it as individuals. And then that is connected to our government. So the geographic region that we live in has a certain kind of government, right? So our government is called a what? Is it a democracy?
Republic.
Is it a republic? You guys live here. What do we have?
Republic.
We have a representative democracy, which means what?
We have a say in some of our leaders.
We vote for the leaders that vote for us, right? So they make decisions on our behalf. There are other places where they don't have that kind of government. They have either a socialist government or a communist government or a dictatorship, right? And so that has a lot to do with their education systems, where they grow up, how all that stuff plays out. And then our geographic region allows us to have certain kinds of ways of being, right? So there are things that are unique to Minnesota because of our geographic region. What are some of those things that are unique to Minnesotans because of our geographic region? That we do, say, interact with the world?
Oofda.
Oofda, right? What else?
Snow skiing.
We go snow skiing. What else do we do? Snowmobiling.
Outdoorsy.
Water skiing. What was that?
Outdoors.
We do a lot of outdoor stuff, right? Because we have 10,000 lakes and that many mosquitoes to feed. And so our geographic region has a lot of stuff. So this is all of, and this isn't everything, but these are a lot of the things that make up who we are. So I ask the question again, IQ for what? Because if I think about the United States, and let's say we take a farmer from greater Minnesota. Does a farmer in greater Minnesota have to have a certain kind of intelligence? Yeah. What kinds of things do you have to, how many people raise on near farms? Okay. What kinds of things do farmers need to know how to do? Farm.
Read the weather.
Okay, read the weather. What else?
Anticipate.
Market.
Market. Yeah.
Okay, anticipate the market. What else?
Breed animals.
Breed animals.
Pay attention to timing.
Pay attention to timing.
Lay of the land.
Lay of the land.
Trained in horticulture to know what chemicals and fertilizers and things to get the highest yields from their crops.
Trained in horticulture so they can know how to get the highest yield of their crops.
Business.
Business.
Get organized.
What's
Have
that?
things organized and have things in their order, like you were saying, have it laid out when to do what.
Okay, so how to organize things, right? Pretty sophisticated stuff, right? But if I took that farmer from greater Minnesota and I dropped him in downtown Manhattan, what would those people in Manhattan say about that particular farmer? Hick. What else?
Stupid.
That he's stupid.
Dress funny.
He dresses funny.
Behind the times.
He's behind the times. They probably wouldn't have a lot of good things to say about that farmer. But what would happen if I took a person from Manhattan, from New York, and dropped them into greater Minnesota on a farm?
They would crawl in a hole.
They would crawl in a hole. They would think that they were inept. And what do you do with a dog that doesn't hunt?
You give it to the kid.
My granddad would say, you shoot him. Right? But all of a sudden, we talk about this IQ for what? So if I have people who've come from Southeast Asia to the United States, or from Liberia, or from the South Americas to the United States, what typically do people start saying about these people?
They don't know much.
They don't know much. What else do they say?
They're not assimilating fast.
They're not assimilating fast enough.
Lots of training needed.
Lots of training needed. Right?
They can't speak.
They can't speak. And sometimes, just like when we did the cultural exchanges, they're coming from where they're coming from, but some of their customs get misconstrued as not being intelligent, or not being able to connect, or not being able to do some things, when in fact, they are able to do those things given enough time and resources. Does that stuff make sense? Okay. Cool. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that stuff. And what's the best way to negotiate? And I don't like, people will say, we need conflict resolution. I don't believe that you resolve conflict. I believe that you negotiate it, because it's a part of everyday life, right? So what's the best way to negotiate these conflicts that can happen between cultures?
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Education.
Try to have an open mind.
Try to have an open mind. Patience.
Communicate. Make sure you're talking about the same thing.
Communicate. Make sure you're talking about the same thing.
Try to find the common ground.
Try to find the common ground. There are a few things that I just want to share with you in the last few seconds that I have left. And that this is what we need to understand about cultural competence. That people can learn, change, and grow. Right? So who I am today is not who I was at 17. Thank God. People do what they think works even when what? It doesn't work. So they do what they think works even if it doesn't work. All behavior is goal directed. So people do stuff, why?
For a reason.
For a reason. And so part of our goal is to find out what those reasons are. The farmer acts in a particular way because he has a reason to act that way. Even if it doesn't work in the environment that he's in, he does have a reason. And lastly, an attitude is a reaction to a goal. And oftentimes we will talk about the emotional state that that attitudes represent. But you know that someone is not reaching their goal if they have a bad attitude. Example, really quick. My dad was my pastor. And so on Sunday, we would go to church from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. We'd stop at 3 o'clock for chicken, not because we're black, but because chicken is delicious. So Friday night, I'd ask for the car, and because my dad loves me, what does he say?
No.
He says, yes, he loves me, right? So I get the keys, and I'm hanging out with my friends. I fill the car up. I come home before curfew. I toss my dad the keys, and my dad says I have what kind of an attitude?
Good.
I have a good or a positive attitude. What do I say about my dad's attitude? It's also a
Yeah.
good attitude, right? So my dad is good and I'm good. Sunday afternoon, my best friend Dexter calls me and says, Andre, can you pick me up for the movies? What do I know about Sundays? Church all day. But I'm 17 and Jesus is my friend, right? So if you call on him, he'll answer prayers. So I go up to my dad and I say, Dad, can I borrow the car? And what does my dad say?
No.
Not only does he say no, but he gives me a lecture about how I'm leading people to hell. Right? Every negative consequence in my household, the ultimate consequence was that you're going to hell. Right? So if you didn't take out the trash, hell. You didn't make up your bed, hell. Either you could go to hell on your own or they would show you the way. So I would say that my dad had what kind of an attitude? A bad attitude. And what would he say about my attitude? That it was also bad. And so what determines an attitude? Whether you're able to reach your goal or not. All right? And that if you want to significantly be effective with people, you have to understand that everyone is looking for significance, belonging, and safety. Everyone wants to be recognized for their ability to do something. Everyone wants to be recognized with their ability to do something within a group context, right? It always surprised me that when I taught high school, I'd have all these loners hanging out together. The loners would hang out together, right? Because they needed a sense of belonging. And also, we also seek safety. We seek safety in the first two things. I want to live in a situation where my ability to be significant and my ability to be connected with other people can be valued and treasured and can be safe. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you are giving dignity and honor for being human. What is dignity? Respect.
Accepting people for who they are.
Accepting people for who they are. Dignity says, I recognize that you have the right to exist just the way you are. Dignity. Now, the interesting thing is, if you don't give people dignity, they'll try to take it. And I don't know if this has happened to you. It's happened to me plenty of times. I'm at a stoplight or I'm at a stop sign, and there's a group of teenagers trying to cross the street. And one would think, with their youth and their beauty, they could cross a little faster. Right? And I used to think it was because their pants were hanging down so low, but I've seen them really hike those puppies up and get going. And so, but I always find it strange that when that group of young people passes by my car, there's always one that makes eyeball-to-eyeball contact with me. Right? And so he's just kind of walking, making eye contact, as if to say, your kind, adults, don't see me any other time, but you will see me right now. What they fail to realize is that I have no points in my license and really good car insurance. Dignity. What is honor? What is honor?
Respect.
It's respect.
And value.
And value. Who in our society have we said we will honor? We will give honor to? To our parents. We'll honor our parents. Who else?
Military.
To God.
Spouse.
Spouse. Politicians.
Really?
I'm just repeating what people say.
Veterans.
Yeah.
Veterans, men and women who
people
fight on
in
our
the
behalf, our elderly or our senior citizens, we say we will not only give them respect, but we'll give them high respect. We will give them honor. Next, being. Please raise your hand if you can answer yes to these next two questions. Raise your hand if you either passed a test, or purchased a ticket that made you eligible to be born. None of us have done anything to bring ourselves here. We all accepted an invitation. I don't like to think about how that invitation came. It's disgusting. But we all accepted an invitation. And now we're trying to figure out what it means to be human. One of the most powerful things I ever heard was working at a senior citizens center with my students. And one of the advisors for the senior citizens group we were going through the orientation and reminded my students to be kind to the residents because they had never been 90 before.